Hey guys, Doug here with Hollywood Rodents. I want to welcome you. It is Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Tonight I'm going to shoot the first part of a video series on rodent nutrition. I've been doing a lot of research on this for the last couple of months because I'm a member of a few Facebook groups, and there seems to be a consensus that you can really feed your rats pretty much anything you want, and they'll thrive. Which, while that's partially true, if you breed for feeders, or you run an operation like ours where you're selling them for other people to feed their snakes, it's definitely what you put into your rodents will definitely transfer over to your reptiles. And obviously the idea is, if you're feeding reptiles like we are, is to provide the highest quality nutrition that you can, and therefore what we feed our rodents has to be the most complete that it possibly can be. So I actually today downloaded a couple of articles that I really want to sort of talk about first, before I get into the commercially available feeds, and then what we feed our rats and our mice actually. So first off, we need to operate under the assumption that rats and mice are wild animals that have been domesticated, much like cattle, dogs, chickens. I mean, virtually every animal that we have as a pet or raised as livestock was once wild. So making sure that we honor the dietary needs that they had when they were wild really should be the utmost concern. And so what does a rat eat in the wild? Well, rats, they're opportunistic omnivore eaters, meaning they'll eat basically whatever they can find. They'll eat grains, fruits, nuts, vegetables, seeds, and basically any other edibles that they find. So when you think about in a rural setting, like on a farm or something where there's various grains around, that's generally what they're eating. They're going to eat grass seeds. They're going to eat flower seeds. They're going to eat pieces of flowers that are edible. They're going to eat virtually anything they can find there. They do eat some insects. They catch bugs and other small animals. Wild rats that live in cities or near cities will eat whatever they find in garbage cans and landfills. So, we're not talking about Master Splinter from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles here, where they eat pizza. They're talking about rats that live in cities, in every city in this country, right? I mean, let's not pretend that they aren't out there everywhere. Rats, like hamsters and other rodents, are food hoarders. That means they'll take more food than they can eat so they can hold on to it for later. Many will eat some of what they find, then bring the rest along so they can hide it near where they live. Rats forage for food at night in order to stay hidden to avoid predators. It makes perfect sense. Rats are careful eaters. In the wild, the type of food available might change from day to day, which means wild rats must try new things on a regular basis. To avoid eating something that might make them sick, wild rats are used to sampling or trying tiny amounts of foods to make sure they can digest it properly. That's why if you give your rat a treat, you'll see them take a small little bite and wait a little while. I notice this a lot with anytime we introduce something new, because we do feed a very complete rodent chow, but we also, for some enrichment, for some fun, we will supplement with hard-boiled eggs. We will supplement with a sweet mix from our local feed store. The sweet mix we actually mix with birdseed, whatever happens to be in season at the local box store that I can buy it in bulk, and we mix it together and feed it to them. It's a treat. We do it once a week. It gives them something a little bit more fun to do, and it also triggers that feeding behavior in the babies and gets them used to eating things, not just suckling from mom. So another thing, wild rats engage in coprography. Okay, I know I butchered that, but it is what it is. That means that they'll eat their own feces on a regular basis. This allows them to ingest any folic acid, biotin, and vitamin K present in the feces that they would otherwise miss out on because these nutrients are hard to absorb properly. So when we start to look at the various feeds that are available, making sure that we have a feed that offers vitamin K, biotin, and folic acid is essential, because it's very essential to their diet. Otherwise, they wouldn't eat their own poop. And this actually comes from a animals.mom.me, and it's What Does a Rat Eat in the Wild? And it was written by Tammy Dre. I found this today. I've been looking for a while for a good source. Then I have one from the exact same website. It says What Did Mice Eat in Nature? This one was written by Chloe Newkirk. Mice are herbivores. They're going to eat a lot of the same things that rats eat. In the wintertime, they'll eat tree bark, roots, oats, corn, and even root vegetables like potatoes. Mice are a little bit more burrowers. You'll see them in wheat fields, you see them in corn fields. They eat all that stuff. Also, they will eat mushrooms and other edible fungus. They'll also eat various insects such as worms, centipedes, and crickets, and even small snails. Urban mice, they live outside. They dwell within a city or suburban environment. They mainly survive by scavenging, the same as rats, through garbage and that kind of thing. When mice are babies, obviously they drink from mom, and they also learn to forage from their parents. So that's kind of a quick rundown of what they eat in the wild. What we should be trying to include in their diet is more of a grain-sourced protein instead of an animal-sourced protein. Because in all reality, rats and mice are not chasing down chickens. They're not chasing down pigs. They're not chasing down deer. Any of these other sources of protein that are kind of common in some of these especially dogs. Hey guys, so I shot this whole video in one take, and unfortunately it's just far too long. It ended up being close to 18 minutes. So just kind of a quick recap. Really what I talked about in what's going to eventually be part one is what rats and mice eat in the wild. And when we start to think about what we're going to feed them, we need to worry about kind of mimicking the food that they had in nature. And by mimicking, I don't mean necessarily hand mixing grains and corns and things like that to feed them. I mean getting a diet that has plant-based ingredients, because that's really what they eat the most in the wild. So stay tuned for part two, where I'm going to talk about Missouri 6F. I'm going to talk about doggy bag dog food. I'm going to talk about some other generic dog foods that are low cost, that I see recommended in groups, and I'm going to talk about our custom blended food that we've worked with Lakeland Feeds in Hamilton, Montana, to kind of come up with for us. So anyhow, guys, stay tuned for part two. Peace out.